aren't things you have to decide on now. You've got some time to see how things are working going forward and make those kind of decisions.
And the last question, excuse me. Do you have an idea when the development agreement is going to be done?
It should be done this week.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Katie?
Also on that note, the development agreement will move through the Plan Commission and Common Council. It's expected to occur in March and early April, that you'll see the actual agreement to have it for your consideration.
Hopefully we're around.
Anyone else have questions?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sean,
Council, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 7-2019.
Second.
Motion made by Alder Benosh, second by Alder Olson to approve Resolution 7-2019.
We already had an original motion on the floor before we did the presentation for approval of that. And
Oh, okay.
by Alder Benash and second by Alder Smith.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So you need to get a vote on that.
So now we just need to vote. All in favor of Resolution 7-2019, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Report from the city clerk. Carrie, you're on.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to give you an update on the general records retention schedule adoption with the State of Wisconsin Historical Society. We've been working on this for quite some time. Council had approved at our November 13th, 2018 meeting an approved schedule that we were going to submit to the Wisconsin State Historical Society with some changes that we deemed appropriate for our use here. We did submit that. I got the submittal into them on December 4th of 2018. We have heard from them that they are rejecting our submittal that we had because we were not allowed to make changes to the schedule unless we wanted to make the retention schedule longer than what they had stated on there. So we have decided that instead of proceeding with that and adopting it as presented by the Wisconsin Historical Society, because we feel it's too extensive of a period for a retention schedules on some items, that we will be going with the original retention schedules that we had adopted that were approved for the county level. So at this time, we are, have those schedules all approved. Those are in place. So those are the schedules that we will be working off of. We have already adopted them and filed them with Wisconsin Historical Society until the point in time when they are willing to make some changes to the other retention schedule. So it's just information update for your purposes.
Okay, thank you. Item 15. Alderperson Jerry Every, discussion regarding Resolution 14-2019 to utilize Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Every.
I'm not asking for any vote on that. I'm asking that that be referred to Judiciary and Finance and Personnel for next month. But the reason I wanted it included was so that you could get it, take a look at it. The resolution for the Committee of the Whole is the same that we've talked about before, and maybe that, you know, maybe it's timely. I think it might work. That's fine. If not, that's fine. The Resolution 15-20-19.
Point of order?
Go ahead.
Are we still in, it says discussion regarding Resolution 14-2019. So maybe we could continue with discussion on that first before we move on to B. Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. All right. Jerry, you said you wanted to move this forward to Judiciary and Personnel, or Administration and Judiciary and Finance and Personnel, or you
Yes.
want to just do one or the other?
Both.
Both. Okay, myself, I know that you're passionate about this, but I think that we've already discussed this a couple times, and we've shown that it's not something the city is willing to do or necessary or even is appropriate. And I'm not sure we need to spend any more time on this because we've already discussed it, and we've come to an agreement that it is not going to work. So I would not be in favor of moving this forward. I think we just table this idea, and if you, at some point in the future, if you want to bring it forward, perhaps, but right now, we've agreed that this is not going to work, it's not a good idea, and I would not be in favor of moving it anywhere else, any other committees.
Sure. On the contrary, I have heard comments from some council members during this year that they might be open to discussing it, and they've been made on this floor. I could go back and be glad to look through the minutes if you like, but I can tell you who they were that made them. I do think it is something that's worth discussing, and the idea here is not to draw lines in the sand, or it's not to admonish anybody or to advocate for any particular thing, other than it's good to be open with our constituency. And I think we could do a better job of doing that, as well as make it easier on ourselves. There are a lot of times when we are gathered here together at a committee meeting that council members want to ask questions and are not allowed to ask questions. And I don't think that is the way it should be run. So that's just my opinion. I understand what your situation is, and that's fine. But I have heard some people say they might like to discuss it. If they don't want it, that's fine too. It's, we have kind of talked about it a couple times.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Can I ask just a point for the clerk? Should we be taking it to both F&P and A&J?
It affects some of those committees, the committees that, when you're asking for this the way it is, when we're talking about standing committees, in our ordinance as defined, standing committees is the Administrative and Judiciary, Finance and Personnel, and Utilities. So those are the committees that it would be affecting. So whether you want the input from those particular committees,
Okay.
otherwise, I think the appropriate place would be to Administrative Committee, because this doesn't really have any financial purpose for it. So I guess depending upon what your purpose of taking it to those committees are.
Okay, and then council?
I'd agree that it going to the administrative or the judiciary committee is the correct committee, because it's number one, it's a resolution, and it really addresses our ordinances. It would require ordinance changes, frankly, if the resolution passed, would be the correct place. I think that's a determination that needs to be made after the meeting, since there can be discussion about it, but there's not going to be an action for referral, because this isn't an action item.
Okay, but there's nothing that keeps it from going to F&P.
There's no hook to F&P why it would, I mean, the correct place is to go to A&J.
Okay.
To go, I mean, that's what it fits into.
Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. I've looked at this. I spent a little bit of time this last weekend kind of looking at the history of this. In June 2017, Alderman Every initially introduced this just as a discussion topic. About a half page of minutes were done. And then it went to council July 2017 with 6.5 pages of minutes, and it was voted down 4-2. And then July of 2018, it came before again council. Another 4 pages of minutes, and once again, it was voted down 4-2 with a different combination of council members. And now it's February 2019, and it's on council again. And I guess my question is, and I'm struggling to understand what the difference is between committee of the whole and our current way we're doing it. And I mean that sincerely, because I always try to understand the root of the issue of why. Because the way I see it right now, we meet the first Wednesday before the second Tuesday of every month to have our 4 standing committees. And the 3 first alders meet not in any conflict with the remaining committee meetings that evening. And so the later meetings that occur, those 3 alderpersons certainly are available to attend A&J if they so wish, but they typically don't. But that's their choice. They don't have to attend. And then likewise, when the F&P and utilities commence, whoever the 3 who are members of A&J can also attend. And I'm one who typically attends. I find it's easier to attend the meeting versus reading minutes. So to me, it seems like there's a lot of work to go ahead and have more minutes, have more attorney time, it just seems like we would be spending more money just to change a system that, in my opinion, has worked. I don't know how we're going to make it more transparent, make it easier on ourselves. Typically, when I attend F&P, if I were to have any questions after a meeting, I'll go up to staff afterwards if I were to have any questions. And I've always found that anyone who's chairing a meeting, if any alderpersons were to have a question, we would be recognized. So I guess I just... And the only difference that I see is the way we do it right now, none of us are compelled to attend those other meetings. By this resolution, we would be compelled to attend the meetings. So,
One meeting.
well, yes, the one meeting. So it would be, but the one meeting, though, would envelop all of those committee meetings. But right now, you can attend that earlier meeting if you so choose.
You can attend 3 different ones, or you could just attend one.
But it's all within the same time frame.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Same evening,
right.
same time frame you would had commit anyhow.
So anyway, that's my piece. Thank you.
Sure. One of the reasons, whatever committee it goes to is fine. I don't really care if you decide that you even want to talk about it. One of the other reasons was this concern was raised about pulling things off of the agenda and pulling them out of the consent agenda and putting them in the non-consent. And that's what happens, I think, when you're not at a meeting, for whatever reason, you're not on that committee, you haven't had a chance to ask those questions, or if you read the minutes, it was not clear to you what the meeting was, you have a chance to ask the question. So there was quite a bit of concern made about that, pulling things off the consent agenda, but again, I think that's just part of being open with our constituents if we ask questions. And if it can't be done at committee meetings, it should be done right here in public, in front of everybody in the TV. And that's nothing to be afraid of. So consider it. If you decide not to pass it on, that's fine. We'll go on.
Jim?
Well, the question I have then is, have we decided to move this to A&J, or is this something that?
Well, it's just a discussion, it's not actionable.
Jerry had asked to do that, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, but it's not
It's not an
actionable.
actionable
so
item, so, there it is.
It can be moved to a committee either by me asking to have it put on the agenda or 2 council people.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing was, I thought it was timely, because if you want to consider it for next year's council, that might be something you want to talk about. You may have somebody else that's interested.
Okay. Any other comments?
I hate to say this, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of interest here.
No, I don't, there never was. I don't think there ever will be with this council, but I was, you always hold out hope.
Okay.
Item B, did you?
Item B is a discussion regarding resolutions 1520-2019, and that's to establish a budget stabilization account. And this, again, is something that I put forward, and I don't think you need to discuss it. You need to talk about it with your fellow council members. And I think that's something that we haven't been doing here. At least the 2 years that I've been here, there's been a very harsh tone and a reluctance to discuss anything. We've got our minds made up, and that's the way it is. But this would be just a little bit different way of doing what we're actually doing now in our financing. Just would have some changes. If you look at the proposal, it's very flexible. There's a lot of moving parts. You can change it around, do what you want to with it. It's just a different way of doing what we're doing now that I think if you read it carefully and consider it, would be advantageous to us, and we would be in a better position than we are right now with what we're doing. Plus, we would gain some favor by our constituents knowing that every year we are, if possible, we're going to refund some of our surplus money back to them. So that's the idea. But I look forward to talking about it with you individually, if you like, and going through it and answering whatever questions I can. Thank you.
Are there any questions, comments? Okay. We'll move on to item 16. To consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. In this case, the Vernig property. If any action is required in open session as a result of the closed session, the Common Council will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and/or continue on with the printed agenda. Do I? Okay, motion made by Alder Jurtson, seconded by Alder Olson to go into closed session. That's a roll call vote.
Kim Smith. Aye. Ron Jurtson.
Yes.
Jerry Every.
Aye.
Jim Olson.
Aye.
Jim Benash.
Aye?
Diane Wolf.
Aye.
We stand in closed session. We would take 5.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.